Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. If everyone wants to turn their phones on silent, out of respect for our speakers, that'd be great. My name is Meira Zach. I'm one of the Happy Fellows at Fordham, so we're focusing our studies on gerontology. I know that many more are also hoping to focus studies on gerontology. The other fellows are Ron Harris, Alan Young, and Julie Seesbron. And we want to give a special thank you to Professor Judy Smith, who has been guiding us this year and who has been really helpful in helping us put together this event. So I'm going to introduce our speakers. As you could tell from the flyer, we wanted to kind of bring to all of you a chance to hear directly from organizations that work in the field of aging. As you all know from all of our classes and just from hearing the news, you know, our population is growing older. And an important note about that is when people hear often, and again, you guys might have encountered this, often when people hear the word aging, they immediately think nursing home, assisted living, which is a very important part of the field. That's only one slice of the field. And seniors means anybody who is 60 years and over, and it means any challenges or issues that come with aging, or just, you know, just like we have regular work with children and adults, we really have kind of all the same things, just with special services to the population 60 and over. So I'm going to, in the interest of time, just introduce all of our speakers now. We did have a few cancellations. So Dr. Jackie Berman from the research department at the Department for the Aging won't be here today. Hopefully Associate Dean Partisani will be able to come speak about that. If not, I'll just say a few words about the types of jobs and the work that DFTA does. And unfortunately, the director of the university settlement also couldn't be here today, but they also have a lot of community-based programs in aging, and there are a lot of other organizations that do this kind of work, and also the SPOP, the service program for older adults. I recommend you look them up. They represent more direct clinical work. Mental health counseling with seniors. They weren't able to come either, but we did want to kind of give a nod to all the different types of services that are available. So without further ado, we're really happy to have with us here today. We have Ms. Linda Freitag from JASA. She's the HR director, and she also is a social worker herself, so she can not only talk to us about what JASA and other organizations are looking for in hiring social workers, but also relate to the kind of work that we're looking to do. We also have Ms. Sandy Reagan-Bogan-Weiss, a social work manager of health outreach and lifeline at New York Presbyterian Hospital Weill Cornell Medical Center. She'll be able to tell us a little bit about hospital social work opportunities available for working with older adults, both the traditional hospital social work that we're all used to hearing about, but also exciting initiatives. A lot of research and community initiatives come from hospitals. We also have with us here both Ms. Tara Noto and Ms. Maxine Matursky from Visiting Nurse Service of New York. Ms. Tara Noto is the program director of the Comprehensive Care Management Program, and Ms. Matursky is the program coordinator of the Upper Manhattan Geriatric Outreach Team. So we're going to give them each a little bit of time to speak, and then hopefully we'll have time for some Q&A.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Linda Freitag, and I am the HR director at JASA. I've been there about 2.5 years. Yes, I have my MSW way back, and I have to say I abandoned social work relatively early on and went into HR, and actually I'm finding now, of course, I'm supporting social workers, so it's been sort of a nice circle. JASA is about 50 years old, not quite 50 years old, and it was founded by philanthropists who realized that they had been doing a lot of funding towards, well, hospitals, and also towards nursing homes, but they hadn't been focusing on what about the seniors who wanted to stay in the community. So that's how JASA started. The focus of JASA is to keep people in the community as long as they can stay in the community, as long as they want. Now I have a really quick question. How many people in the room know what a NORC is? See, a few. I had no idea what a NORC was until I started at JASA. NORC, N-O-R-C, is a naturally occurring retirement community, okay? So it's a building, think Co-op City, it's the easiest one. It's a building where people all start to move in roughly at the same time, and they grow their families and their kids grow up and they move off. And then the people in the community there get older and older and older. The city said, oh, let's try to keep people living at home as long as possible, right? So what they've done is they've contracted with different agencies, and JASA is one of them, because we're about the largest social service agency in the city working with aging who are staying in the community. So JASA is one of them. So the city has contracted with us to have programs in these big, say in Co-op City, where we'll have a social worker there, we'll have several social workers there for all week, we'll have a visiting nurse, then we'll have maybe a senior center there, it depends on the NORC. We might be partnering with somebody else's senior center. We take the seniors on trips, maybe shopping or to a movie or actually a play or to a museum. And so that's a good way, and then we keep an eye on the seniors because we help them apply for Medicaid, Medicare. If they need home delivered meals, we arrange it. If they might need home care later, we help arrange that. And they stay in their homes for as long as possible. So that's the overlying mission of JASA, is really to keep seniors in their homes as long as possible, as long as they want to. So I know some of you have picked up our materials, and please, if you haven't, come later and pick them up. We have programs in 4 of the 5 boroughs. I'm sure you all know which borough we don't. So Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, not Staten Island, sorry, and Long Island. We actually have a few programs out in Nassau and Suffolk. We were first, at least the one, when I was in social work school, and I wasn't a gerontology specialist, but we were first known for our senior centers. We actually have 24 senior centers throughout all those areas. And so people love senior centers. One of the big surprises I got at when I started working at JASA a few years ago, aside from learning a few acronyms like NORC, and DFTA, I didn't know what DFTA was. When somebody gets older, they don't go to senior centers at first. When we first retire, if we're living in the city, we hang out with our friends, we take the subways, the buses, we go all over the place. Then as we get somewhat older, we start staying closer to our neighborhood. And actually, the average age, it turns out, of our seniors is in senior centers over 80. Yeah, think about it. And we have seniors there in their 90s and actually over 100. It's not unusual. We used to announce when people turned 100, and it was a big deal. Now we have quite a few seniors out in our senior centers all over the place who are over 100. So JASA is 3 divisions. Social services, which is the broadest, and that's where actually these sheets of paper are about, and I'll mention that in a second. Then the other 2 divisions are senior housing and home care. Home care is very straightforward. We have about 1,200 home health attendants who go and help out at people's homes individually. Okay? And so we have about 40 people supporting the 1,200 home health attendants. And we're always looking for home health attendants. If you know of anybody who wants to be a home health attendant, please contact JASA. We really need them. Seriously, we really do. Then the next division is housing, affordable housing. Senior affordable housing is very, very rare. Right now, we have close to 2,000 units in Manhattan. In fact, I just came from one. It's right located near Cooper Union College, down by NYU. A lovely place. Within a few hours of when it opened to the senior public, we ended up having a 15-year waiting list. Yeah, we froze it, obviously. I mean, because there's only 150, 160 units there. Our bigger housing units are out in Far Rockaway. And for a while, we had trouble getting people who wanted to go out to Far Rockaway. It's far away. It's actually right on the ocean. It's really beautiful. And so right now out there, we have a modest waiting list of 3 years. So it's very hard to get senior housing and affordable housing. And it's, you have to meet an income threshold, and you have to be at least 62 or older. So it's really a wonderful, and they're perfectly great housing units. It's really very great. So that's why we have the long waiting list. But the big division that we have at JASA, and what they're probably best known for is the whole social services. And we care for people from perfectly healthy adults all the way to the more fragile. And so the perfectly healthy adults might go to, we have Sundays at JASA, which is essentially little courses that we offer down at John Jay for Sundays, and people pay full freight for those and they take classes. The most popular one is crossword puzzle development. And and so that's really fun, and people go, and it's semester based and all that. Then we have all sorts of other social services as you would think of them. We have a very active legal team working with abused elderly. We have adult protective services. Perhaps somebody's been in the hospital and needs help getting back into their home, so they need some assistance. We have home delivered meals. We deliver thousands of meals, a year to people all over who really need them. And we have a guardianship program where people who really just simply can't take care of themselves. So it's really a full range. And so actually the sheet that I'm giving you goes from sort of the programs for the more active seniors down to the more vulnerable seniors. We're constantly hiring. It's a steady turnover. We have about 700 staff plus the 1,200 home health attendants. And of the 700 staff, I would say about 300 to 400 are social workers, but most of them, for budgetary reasons, a lot of them are bachelor's based. So the master's level folk coming in are coming in the more senior positions, and so and into the supervisory positions. We have a robust managerial training program, which people like quite a lot. It's a 2.5-year program. We like to grow our own. So anyway, I'm going to stay afterwards for a few minutes if people have questions about what we do at JASA, but we do a lot.
And you'll see on the mission at JASA, they say they're one of the largest organizations serving the elderly, and it's no joke. And you look at their website and you can contact Ms. Freitag. They have a lot of jobs for new social work graduate students.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're gonna now I'm gonna have Ms. Reagan-Bogenweiss.
Hi, yes. My name is Sandy, and I am a social work manager at New York Presbyterian Hospital Weill Cornell campus. New York Presbyterian Hospital is 6 hospitals, and it is a huge entity. Columbia Presbyterian, Allen Hospital in Inwood, MS Choney next to Columbia Presbyterian, which is the Children's Hospital. We have Lower Manhattan now that we acquired about 2 years ago, and my campus is the Weill Cornell campus, and I forgot, Westchester, which is inpatient psychiatric. So it's a huge entity. There are many social work jobs, but I want to talk to you about actually the services first that we offer. My program is part of the social work department. I admire you all for thinking about gerontology and being interested in geriatrics. When I went to social work school, it was a second career. I had been an advertising copywriter, and I went to school, and my first class, policy class, the professor said, if you want to be sure you're going to have a job, go into gerontology. And I thought, I don't want to go into gerontology. And that was not something I could imagine, because I really didn't like my grandmother, and I that's what it would be like. I spent 12 years working at Gay Men's Health Crisis in HIV and AIDS. Then I went for 5 years as Director of Services at the Center for Independence of the Disabled, and I've been at New York Presbyterian now for almost 5 years. So I say that to tell you that you're interested in geriatrics, but you can get to geriatrics from all sorts of places. That's the wonderful thing about social work. You have a set number of, you have various skills, you have the wherewithal to find the resources that you need, and you can be in any field. And so when I came to NYP, they were looking for a licensed clinical social worker, which I am, but somebody also who had program experience. And I took over the health outreach program, which is more than 20 years old. And we offer services to older adults, 60 plus, who lived in the community, but we have many, many people who come from Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and we have our mailing list is 7,000 people. So we regularly arrange for the doctors, nurses, nutritionists to come and talk for free to groups of 60 or 70 people at a time. They bring their business cards. We serve as a wonderful platform for our doctors and our clinical staff to talk about treatments and preventive care. And we also serve as a wonderful way for our older adults to find out about the hospital services. That's part of what is, I think, the major driving force of health outreach, but we also have yoga and exercise and writing classes, and my new BFF is almost 102 years old. She comes to the writing class. She's a still practicing sex therapist who started as a social worker, so write that down. There's a possibility for you in that field as well. And she did say to me the other day that, it's much more fun turning 100 than 101, because everybody makes a big deal about you turning 100, but 101 it's less of a big deal. So along with the health outreach program of health and wellness, we also run a caregiver service, a family caregiver service. And you probably know, and there is so much more emphasis now and realization that family caregivers are the unpaid backbone of services for older adults. And now there are new initiatives, and I'm not as well versed as I could be, but the CARE Act, where hospitals are required to involve family caregivers in discharge decisions. So going forward, I think that's going to be a huge area. Caregiver services, caregivers are, and when I say family caregivers, it's different than home care people. It's people, family, friends, significant others who choose to help out their older adults. And we offer groups and support services. We're going to be having a symposium in May, and we're also starting a resource line that people will be able to access and get information on caregiver services and resources throughout the city. And then the third program that we run is the Lifeline Personal Emergency Response System. I don't know if any of you know what it is. It's, I've fallen and I can't get up. That's not us, actually. That's the other system. There are lots of systems. But, where many older adults don't want to have anything to do with it, and it's their kids and their nieces and nephews who are sort of pushing them to do it. Once they have that security, they see that it can enable them to live more independently in their homes. And that's really the goal. The goal is for people to live in their homes, and hopefully in the future there'll be even more funding for home care and services in the homes. I believe that's the direction we're going in. So that's my community program. I'd be happy to talk to you about it, but I know you're probably thinking, well, how can I get a job in the hospital? And that's understandable. In the hospital, we have a number of initiatives. We have on the Weill Cornell campus something called the Right Center, and it's a strictly geriatric service for older adults. There's only one social worker there, but they take students. And a vast majority of her work is actually dealing with psychosocial issues, and also things like durable medical equipment and Medicaid and Medicare and things like that. We also have a huge, obviously, geriatric service in the hospital. We have a floor that is dedicated to older adults. And the issues that I think are, big or, really major focuses of geriatric care are, well, chronic illnesses, Alzheimer's and dementia, and palliative care and bereavement. Those are, some of the key issues that social workers find themselves involved with. And I will say, as far as getting a job, it's hard to get a job in the social work department at Weill Cornell without having had some experience in a hospital. Because usually people do go into that role of discharge planning. And discharge planning can be a very clinical role. It's not just what people, think it's really a clinical position, but usually the hospital, our hospital, is looking for people who can hit the ground running. But I would not want to discourage you. You should look at, nyp.org jobs and see what's available. And you need to get your LMSW within a year. So they do have permits, that people can obtain so that they can practice at the hospital. But I would say working in the hospital, working with this population, it's the best population. I never, ever imagined that I would love it as much as I do. And I wish you lots of luck and success, and I'd be very happy to talk to you after.
Now visiting service of New York.
Hi, I'm Maxine Matursky, and I'm the program coordinator of the Upper Manhattan Geriatric Outreach Program, that's a mouthful, with Visiting Nurse Service of New York. This agency is the largest home care agency in the United States. Just a very little bit of history. It began in 1939. A public health nurse named Lillian Wall found that there was a need, and she started taking care of mothers that were having problems while they were pregnant, and it was run out of the Henry Street Settlement. In 1944, it separated and officially became Visiting Nurse Service of New York. Currently, there are over 17,000 employees in the agency, so there are going to be some opportunities. We have many divisions, and I'm going to be focusing today on the Community Mental Health Division, and within that, our program, the Upper Manhattan Geriatric Outreach Program. Within Community Mental Health, we have about 12 program types and 25 different programs, which actually deal with people from infancy all the way to geriatrics, to end of life. Our program is the Upper Manhattan Geriatric Outreach Program, and we also have a program in the Bronx that works in-home and provides in-home mental health services to seniors of 60 years old in the Bronx and 65 in Manhattan. We really consider ourselves unique because, number one, we do have a psychiatric consultant that will come in and do a consultation and work with the client's medical doctor if the client agrees. And the second most really important thing is that we're grant funded, so we don't charge for any of our services. Very often clients don't have the right insurance, and with all the changes that are going on with insurance now, that's a big problem, but we can go in no matter who else is going in. So that's very important. Our main goal is to really try to help our seniors to remain stable and remain in the community. It's a completely voluntary program. They have to agree to everything that we do. And what we really do is try to reduce their symptoms of depression, increase socialization, and deal with any emotional issues that they may have that are really impacting negatively on their lives. We do this by doing a full psychosocial exam when we go in, and that includes a geriatric depression scale and what we call a mini mental status exam to see if there are any signs of dementia. We are one of the few programs that work in geriatric mental health that will accept clients that have memory issues and various types of dementia. The model we use is very, very client-centered. We call it the wellness model. It's really a team approach. It's not, you know, I'm the provider and you're the patient. It's really a team, and the client is very proactive in really helping themselves. And we encourage clients to focus on not what they've lost and what they can no longer do, but on their strengths, what they do have and what they can do. 100% of our clients have co-occurring serious physical illnesses along with mental health issues, and so they just kind of consider, they've just kind of given up somewhere along the line. We have many clients that are in their 80s and their 90s. We actually, about a year ago, had a client that was 105, and we discharged him because he was just doing so well. He really didn't need our services anymore. I'd like to know his secret. And so this is really wonderful. We focus on trying to link our clients to services, primarily mental health services, but any service that will provide them with a better quality of life. In Manhattan, we focus very heavily on counseling, supportive counseling, bereavement counseling, and substance use treatment counseling. In the Bronx, the amount of time that we see the clients is about 3 months average. In Manhattan, it's average 6 months, probably because we focus so heavily on the counseling. There are always opportunities, although our staff has been there quite a long time in Manhattan. Changes do occur, and a lot of people think of geriatric clients as well being old and sick and we don't want to work with them. But the truth is, this is a very, very special population, and they really hook you in.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so different. They have a sense of humor. They're just really special, unique individuals, like all of us are special and unique. But, you know, they even though it's very intense and they have a lot of serious issues, they really can be a lot of fun to work with. There are opportunities for employment in our, what we call our health home. That's I'm gonna let Tara explain that a little better when it's her turn. And also outside of community mental health, certainly the hospice program and palliative care program of VNS has a lot of opportunities for working with geriatric clients. And of course, the VNS Choice program, which is in all 5 boroughs, including now Westchester and Nassau County, also has many opportunities for master's level and licensed social workers. So I'm gonna let
So Maxine did a great job of just sort of giving an overview. My name is Tara Noto. I'm a program director at VNSNY, and I've been with the agency for just about 15 years. I'm actually very new to the world of geriatrics. I just started working and having oversight of the geriatrics programs at VNSNY a little over a year ago. So this is all very new to me, and I'm actually finding it to be quite interesting. One of the really exciting things for me since I started is that I'm seeing that there's a lot of opportunities for growth and expansion. For example, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene recently released an RFP. Does everyone know what an RFP is?
Yes.
Request for proposals? So recently there was an RFP that was put out by the department for quite a significant amount of funding, about $2 million worth of funding to provide screenings for depression and then in-home treatment for that depression. So I think JASA's applied for that also. I'm not sure if your department, so we're competing on that, but that's okay, it's friendly competition. Yes. But this is actually very, very good for the field, and I think it really sort of underscores the recognition that these are services in need of funding. This particular project that we've applied for is, we'll hear who's awarded the contracts in May, but there's plenty of room for multiple providers. There's about 9 contracts that are available, and they're actually to provide services in every borough except for Staten Island.
It's funny.
Or actually,
Forgotten-
it's-
yeah, the
we
forgotten
you're,
borough.
yeah, I know it's unfortunate.
It's too funny.
But it's actually a really interesting project because what the teams who are awarded the contracts are going to do is they're going to go out to these sort of high need areas. So high need being sort of places where people are more tend to be isolated, not have as much access to services, and actually homebound individuals, so people that really have a harder time getting out into the community. And so teams will go out and do screenings. They're going to link up with other community providers to try to identify individuals that might be more isolated, that could be in need of services. And they're going to actually screen them for depression and substance abuse issues. And if they screen positively, then they'll be offered the opportunity to receive in-home depression treatment. So it'll be an evidence-based practice model. It's a CBT model. That is going to be utilized with individuals from a 6 to 8 session sort of framework. So we're very excited about the opportunity. To my knowledge, VNSNY has not actually gone after a contract in geriatrics since we started our geriatric outreach program. So this is a new initiative for us, and we hope that we do get some of those contracts. But if we are awarded those contracts, then those would certainly be opportunities in terms of employment and jobs. And I do know that the two positions that would be most in need would be, there's an outreach position, so that would be someone who's responsible for going out into the community to do the screenings. And then there's actually an opportunity for that person to participate in some of the in-home treatment. And then there's also a licensed clinician position that would actually be meeting with individuals in the home to do that one-on-one CBT model of care for those individuals. And then there would be, sort of pre-screening and post-screening to see how effective that in-home therapy is for those individuals. So that's something we're really excited about.
Thank you. And what's your organization's website?
VNSNY.org.
Thank you so much for presenting on VNS. As you're looking for jobs, VNS also, they have geriatric positions, but they also have, you might want to check out their other jobs available as well. We do have one last speaker. Associate Dean Partisani is going to come in and help fill in to speak about the Department for the Aging. I am a little biased because that's where my internship is this year. And I did want to say, unfortunately we don't have Jackie Berman here, but for those of you who are in the research and the leadership tracks, the Department for the Aging is really an opportunity, and the jobs that they have available are really to be involved in research, to be involved in program oversight, because all of these requests for proposals that are being discussed, DFTA oversees all of those. And there are some direct care positions, but really primarily what they're doing is the policy end of things. And you can find those jobs on, you go to the nyc.gov website and you search jobs. That's where you look for jobs for any government job. And you can search by department or by social services. So, President Partisani, if you could tell us a little bit about DFTA, that'd be great.
Good afternoon. I don't work for DFTA, I work with DFTA, so that's how I know DFTA. The DFTA stands for Department for the Aging. It is the New York City government's Department for the Aging, and Jackie Berman, or Dr. Jackie Berman, is the director of research, all the research that is conducted by DFTA. And I think that's what you were talking about, placement opportunities for students in the research concentration or leadership concentration, track A especially. There are wonderful opportunities because they're really doing work with policy, with research. DFTA happens to be, all cities in the United States are required to have a Department for the Aging, just like they have Department for Health and Human Services and so on. And New York's Department for the Aging is one of the largest in the country. It serves several 100,000 older adults in the 5 boroughs of New York City. They have many different programs. They don't always offer the programs themselves. They do it through contracts with agencies, neighborhood agencies. So I happen to know that they fund more than about 275 senior centers in the 5 boroughs of New York City. They also fund over 16 case management agencies These are agencies that provide home-based services for frail older adults. So these are older adults who live at home. They're not in a nursing home, but they need supportive care. They need meals on wheels. They need bars in the bathroom. They need a visiting nurse. And there are 16 case management agencies spread out throughout New York City, and they're funded by DFTA. DFTA also operates home-delivered meal programs or HDML programs. So anyone who's over 60 and they need a meal for whatever reason, they can sign up and the process goes through DFTA, but people can receive meals or services. There's also a very large adult protective services that investigates abuse of elders, not just physical or sexual, but also psychological and financial abuse. And so it works almost like ACS, Administration of Children's Services, but it's for adults. And they hire social workers. Actually, that's one department that most of the workers there, and a couple of them are our graduates from Fordham. So that's another program that the Department for the Aging runs. And in addition to that, they collect data on aging trends, needs of older adults. They participate at the state level of the Office of Aging to talk about advocating for New York City. They work closely with the mayor, and they also work with city council. There's a committee on aging. So they do a lot of policy work to bring attention to what the needs are of elders, whether it's older adults, whether it's frail adults, whether it's immigrant elders, poverty issues. So it's a very wide range of services, but the majority of the services are provided through contracts with case management agencies. And DFTA is one of the few that has a research department. They really document what they do, and they've sort of, and I'll tell you the last part, they've actually really pioneered electronic case record systems, intakes, assessments, reassessments, evaluations are done online in this online system, which is pretty advanced. Not everybody likes it. Social workers fight it a lot, but it really has revolutionized social work practice in some ways. So, and I'm sure the other folks here could talk more about, because everybody here in some way has been involved with DFTA.
We're funded.
There you go. And so we work closely with DFTA on research projects. I've worked with them. We have a Ravizon Center on Aging here, Dr. Jana Heyman. She's worked with them, but we have many different projects. Did I cover?
Yes, no, yeah, you covered it. DFTA, yeah, and I just want to note, Adult Protective Services now is under the Human Resources Administration,
Right.
but that's a very important, you should also look on nyc.gov under HRA, really important work that they do. And I think we have a few minutes for question and answers. Thank you so much. So yeah, there are so many opportunities. I think what all of our speakers really showed is that, and I don't remember exactly who said it, that just like there are specified services for any population, so too there are all sorts of services for older adults. So are there does anybody have any particular questions? Open up the floor.
Oh, quiet.
Come on, you guys, have some questions. I have a question. Some of you mentioned that you're in Nassau County now. Are those all handled through the same offices in New York City if you were to apply for something in Nassau County? Is it a separate process? Okay.
Yeah. It's centrally, we've been centralizing our recruitment. But we have a small but robust team out in Nassau and Suffolk.
And VNS as well?
That's true for VNS as well.
Yeah.
So all the jobs you would apply to centrally, like through our VNS-NY HR department. And I believe our choice department has social workers in Nassau County
Yeah.
for the choice program.
And VNS has a separate, VNS Suffolk, is that a completely separate organization?
Yes, actually
Okay.
VNS-NY does not, they're not affiliated with the visiting nurses in Suffolk.
Some of us are frighteningly close to that older adult threshold. So do you hire older adults?
Absolutely.
Good to know.
Yep.
I won't tell you how close. Yes.
I'm curious, I think you said that there's like a CBT program that you're working with, and I'd like to know more about that.
We just applied. There was an RFP that was put out, and The model of CBT is called PEARLS. And for any one of the agencies that's awarded the contract, that's the model they're going to be expected to utilize. It is a specific type of CBT, evidence-based practice, that has been proven effective in decreasing depression and increasing socialization in adults over 65. So that's the specific model that we are going to be using. We actually don't know anything about it yet in terms of anything other than sort of the broad strokes, because for any of the agencies that are awarded the contract, part of our proposal included we would have to pay for the PEARLS training. So it's a very intensive training that all the clinicians would receive in that model. And then there's follow-up supervision that would be a part of the training on an ongoing basis. So we're hoping to be awarded. We applied for, I believe, 6 of the 9 contracts that are available. And VNSNY in particular applied for contracts in Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan. I'm not sure which ones JASA applied for.
I can't tell you.
Would that only be clinical social workers, or would you need to have your clinical designation?
There's 2 types of positions available for that if we're awarded the contract. One, you do have to be licensed, an LCSW for the actual in-home treatment, and then there's another outreach position that you would be also providing some support for that in-home treatment, but you wouldn't necessarily be the main clinician, and that does not require a license. It does require a background in social services, but not necessarily a license.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Lots of